to help him achieve what he wants to achieve.
All right. Great. Thanks, Michelle. Appreciate it. We're going to move on and talk to the Hofmeister. Anyway, he served as head of U.S. operations for Shell Oil, now as CEO of the nonprofit Citizens for Affordable Energy. John Hofmeister is urging the U.S. to become less reliant on foreign oil, face some crude realities. He joins us live. I'm sure you were listening, John. And let's say that Venezuela and Mexico were both run by you, their oil operations. How many barrels do you think we could get in a perfect world like that?
Well, in a perfect world, and if you could recover some of the mistakes of the past, you know, you could essentially double both countries because the resources are huge. Just like in the U.S. You know, we used to do 10 million barrels a day in the U.S. Today we do 7. And because the politicians are now running the Gulf of Mexico, we're on our way to 6 million barrels a day. And the government is now going to own the gasoline price for consumers because of the decisions they're making to run the Gulf of Mexico the way Mexico is running the Gulf of Mexico. Politicians don't really know what the implications are of their decision to shut down an entire basin of oil production, and Americans are all going to pay the price for it. The big point here is the economic recovery, Joe, could be completely put down because of disposable income going to buy gasoline instead of buying all the other things that people need to buy, including houses.
Yeah, we've got a confluence of some pretty negative factors, John. You throw in QE2, which may have helped the stock market, obviously, in animal spirits, but if the dollar, you know, if the worst case scenario were to come to pass and that pushes oil to 120, and then the Gulf continues, you know, politicians still screw that up, then, you know, those two things together could put gasoline up above $5, right?
Well, the president is saying all the right things on jobs, but what he also has to recognize, and maybe Jeff Immelt can help in this regard, is that oil is today and is tomorrow the lifeblood of the economy. It makes everything go in the economy. People may not like that. They may not want to hear that. But for the next decades going forward, if we constrain domestic production the way we have been, and we become continually reliant on more imports, we're shipping U.S. cash out of the U.S. to burn gasoline, to keep the economy going. And we could be creating millions of jobs in this country if we went back to the 10 million barrels a day we used to produce. It's about 1 million jobs for every 1 million barrels of production in this country. And why we don't pursue that, and why people don't get it, that we're still using 20 million barrels a day, regardless, why don't we produce our own? And there's just no logical argument, if we care about jobs and care about the economy, not to produce our own energy domestically.
Mm-hmm. Jim?
John, I couldn't agree with you more. This is Jim Rohr. One question I have for you on the affordable energy side is recently we've had a number of natural gas discoveries in the U.S., the Marcellus Shale and some others. What impact do you think that might be able to have over the next 10 years in terms of mitigating our energy costs?
If we're intelligent about it, Jim, and if we sustain a commitment to the use of natural gas, I think it could have a dramatic impact across the entire nation on lowering the fuel price that commercial industries have to pay for electricity. It could help consumers with electricity production. It's cleaner, obviously, than other sources. And there's the fuel opportunity, the transportation opportunity. Boone Pickens has talked about it extensively. But particularly for trucks in large, dense locations, you could do a lot to offset some of the oil imports using natural gas in larger vehicles. I think consumer vehicles, personal cars, becomes a whole different, greater difficulty, which would need more than a 10-year planning horizon to make a difference.
John, what do we need? What should the president do in the Gulf? Where are we right now? There was a moratorium, then there wasn't one, and then it was going to take time to get back up and running. What do you need him to do right now, or his administration to do?
Well, I think the president really has to come to grips with the fact that we have an attorney general and a prosecutor running the Interior Department. They don't understand or know that the decision to shut down the Gulf has long-reaching implications that could impact the gasoline price, which could impact the president's reelection. And there is no dispute at least among industry people and many, many others, that it was an overreach to really brandish the entire industry with the blame of a single rig that went out of control. And to bring the Gulf back to some level of sanity means we just have to have an acceleration of approval of permits to let the industry do what it does.
All right. You know, I'm thinking the GE and Immelt is across the board, and you know, they do with Dresser, they do oil and gas, they do windmills, they do alternative, they do energy saving, they do grid management, they do everything. So it's not like, you know, it's not like you'd want to migrate everything to alternative. You'd certainly, so you may hear that from Jeff. So we'll see.
Well, I think Jeff has a good perspective on all of this, and I've talked to him in the past about it. It's a both-and solution. You know, that's the key. It's both and. It's old and new. And let's do it all, because it's all helpful to the economy.
Well, you know, with Daley and with all these other things, you must be at least optimistic and hopeful that we're moving that way.
The linchpin for the president to get the economy right is to get back to a basic reality that hydrocarbons are here, they're necessary. We can transition over a 50-year time frame, Joe, but they're here and present now. We've got to have more of them domestically.
Right. John, thank you.